Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for joining me.
Yes. Yes. No problem.
Awesome. Quick video interview normally takes 20 to 25 minutes. Is now still a good time for that?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm not sure what all the team explained to you, but basically the way all this works is I record our video interview. I send it over to my team. They'll edit
Hmm.
everything out for us. Usually ask you like 8 to 10 questions. I sent you a couple examples. I don't usually go too far from those. I won't spring anything crazy on you. But the reason that I'm doing this is it's much better content for me to put out for the business owners in our community than
Hmm.
it is me writing some kind of boring newsletter that goes out to everybody once a week.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Awesome. We'll dig in a little bit to your business and your story. I'll ask you some questions about kind of how you run things, how you've been able to get through different challenges that you've faced, and then it's a way for you to promote your business to the Atlanta community as well. Sound good?
Great. Yeah.
Awesome. Again, just a recorded interview, nothing crazy, just nice and smooth with the flow. Are there any questions you have before we get started?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Here we go. Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Nate Woods. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach Peachtree. Today, I have Tracy Lee, a serial entrepreneur and CEO of This Labs, as my guest. We're going to talk a little bit about her business, her journey to business ownership, some challenges and practices that she's put in place, and then get a sneak peek into her business and what it's really like to operate and run. If it's your first time on the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. You'll get notifications when we drop new interviews like this one. Tracy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you would just give us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about your business.
Sure. I've been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember, probably right out of high school. I started in entrepreneurship. I come from the Silicon Valley, so ran a tech startup there, started one that got acquired probably about 8 years ago. And then I decided to start a consultancy. So we focus on helping companies with application development. And, we pride ourselves in kind of being at the forefront of technology. We love helping large companies. So a lot of our clients are people like Wikimedia, Google, Meta, Twilio, T-Mobile, et cetera. But then we also really love working with startups and small businesses as well. I think coming from a non-tech background prior, I really have a lot of passion for helping small businesses and startups because, tech is, I think I just run into too many situations where, somebody's been taken for a ride. And it really hurts, especially if you're a small business or a startup. And especially if you're a non-technical person, you just don't know. And I've been there before. So we really have a soft spot in our hearts for like helping small businesses in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tech is always such a fast moving industry.
Yeah.
And I feel like for small business owners that aren't aware of what all that entails, it's very easy for them to be taken advantage of.
Oh, yes. It's really terrible. And it hurts. And how do you tell people like we just want to help you, you know? But it's hard. And yeah, again, I've been there before. I didn't become technical up until about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And then once you do, it's like, oh my gosh, your life changes. Things just look different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the business.
Yeah.
Just for the audience to understand, what does the ownership structure of your business look like now? Are you the sole founder and owner, or do you have outside investors?
Yeah, no, we don't have any external investors, but we're set up very similar to a startup. So uh, we have a board and founders and things like that.
Awesome. Perfect. So, what is the role that you currently play in the business?
I'm currently serving as CEO, so I handle a lot of the sales and marketing aspect of things. Sort of transitioned out of helping on the development management or engineering management side of things a few years ago. But yeah, we have an amazing team here, and it's really cool to be here and be in Atlanta, I guess, building
Awesome.
in Atlanta.
So what would you say makes your business unique? Why do your customers choose to work with you?
I think the biggest reason is because, you have so many development shops out there that, will build you what you want, right? But I think for anybody who has gone through this process before, really finding true partners in technology is difficult. Finding people who truly care. And, for me, for example, I'm not a designer, but we have a team of designers, and one of the reasons I love them so much is because I can give them a set of requirements, right? So typically, I think our clients find the most use out of us when they have a set of business requirements. And they don't have to go through all the effort to find all the different little details of like, this is what I want, creating a huge spec. We can actually just have a couple of meetings and help them understand what they want. My designers, in my opinion, are the best, and same with my developers, are the best because, you tell them what you need and you think you know what you need, but it's not until they tell you what they're going to give you when you're like, oh, that's what I needed, right? Because you never, again, having run multiple startups in the past and having been in that co-founder position and trying to build something as a non-technical person, what I think I need is never what I need. And whenever I've worked with somebody who's given me exactly what I told them I wanted, it's always been wrong. And it's cost more money. you know? So yeah, you really want to work with like true partners that understand what your goals are, and can help bring you along.
Absolutely. Yeah, understanding what they want versus what they actually need, that's a
Yes.
completely different deal.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Awesome. So what is one thing that you wish more people knew about your business?
I don't know. I think there's something about just being like I don't know if it's like just caring. you know? I mean, again, you find so many people out there who are I always laugh at my team because why do we like to solve hard problems, right? Like you can make so much money and business elsewhere, right? Just again, doing what people tell you to do or whatever it is. Or, you see a lot of these development companies who, are staffed at large organizations who are just sitting there hanging out, collecting a paycheck. And, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for our clients, I think, maybe unfortunately for us, because our lives would be easier, but then it would be boring. We really like to dig in and like actually help solve problems, and that's where we're the happiest. But I think that's hard to communicate, right? I mean, you look at again development shops, design shops, anything, even like you go to like an embroidery shop, right? Like,
Mhm.
are they gonna, mess it up because they just don't care and they're just putting something through a machine? Or like, do they actually care about the quality? So I think quality is actually really important. But again, as non-technical people, that is really hard to understand what that means. And it costs so much money. I mean, just so much money dumped down the drain. I mean, millions, it can be millions and millions of dollars, and it can really change your trajectory. Um,
Absolutely.
my my first startup, again, I was a non-technical person. I was telling my co-founders at the time what I needed. And it took a year of development. We barely launched. It's like, okay, it's coming, it's coming. It's like, we're almost there. And then I met this guy and he said, that's not what you really need. And in 3 weeks, he built me a website. And then my business completely took off. And we threw away a year's worth of code.
Wow.
And like, that's like life changing, And
Yeah.
I think that's what's really inspiring to me. Like, we work with a lot of like people who get like, let's say government grants to help, we're working with this company right now to kind of help, I don't know what they call it, like aging in place in a sense, right? Like helping elders, in their homes so that they don't have to go to retirement homes. And, that type of stuff is like really interesting. But the type of folks who work on those types of projects or who are passionate about those type of projects are typically non-technical people. But, it's really empowering, and it really values your business way more if you can think about it from a technology standpoint. Think about where you're going. Think about how, especially if you're a small business and trying to sell a company or trying to just like generally raise money in the future. If you're a technology company, right, the multiples are much higher.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. So talked a little bit about the business and
Yeah.
kind of how you're structured there. Let's dive into your journey a little bit more.
Yeah.
So entrepreneur, almost right out of high school. Why did you choose to go into business for yourself versus going to work for someone else?
Well, I think for me, it's always about like making an impact in the world, right? I actually did. So I graduated. Well, I think entrepreneurship generally when I was younger, it started off from, me going to a jewelry show, buying a bunch of loose gemstones and, seeing these, $200 earrings and being able to make them. And then I spent all weekend making jewelry and I was like, well, I should sell this stuff. And so, then I started just going to flea markets and selling it, right? Like, okay, that seemed easy. I know maybe some people don't make that leap, but that kind of for me was like, okay, you just start things, right? So when I graduated college, I was already doing a jewelry business and I was, starting companies and doing things. And I had a choice of, do I go corporate and try to make an impact there? Or do I continue with, doing startup and try to make an impact there? And my passion has always been helping people, right? But like, you can't help people unless you help yourself. And so I felt like because my startup stuff at the time was like so fledgling, I was, barely getting by, no revenue. I was like, well, okay, I want to help people, but it's a long path. Versus maybe if I go corporate, there's a corporate structure and, I can make an impact within a large organization. So I got there and 3 weeks in, I realized that's not what I was hired for, nor did they care. I was not set up for that. And so I started like 3 startups, at that company. And my first successful one, Dish Crawl, was one of them that I started at that time. And I did that, I did Dish Crawl part-time while I was working at that company for, until I actually figured out how to generate revenue.
Sure.
And then I quit my job. So, and then I was off to the races. But yeah, I don't know what that is, right? Like, I don't know. Some people say, hey, I'm going to do it. And some people, maybe it's also being naive, right? Sometimes it's good to be a little naive or a little bit like, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. It helps you.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Just have to take the initiative and go out and try it, right?
Yeah. I mean, so what, you fail, but I mean, at some point in time, you'll be successful, right?
Absolutely. That's a great mindset. You just got to keep pushing forward. So as you look back at that journey, was there a memorable hurdle or roadblock that you overcame that really made a difference for you?
I think it was just lessons along the way, right? Like right now we work with a lot of, startups and co-founders and different CEOs of companies. Some are very heavily funded, some are not. And I think as an entrepreneur, you really have to be introspective, right? Like people around you, it's so sad because, there's this one person right now who is an entrepreneur and, he's really messing up and he's our client. And we're like, man, but you see all the people around him just giving up and not saying anything to him. And it's like so depressing to me because I would love to just have a little sit down with him. But the problem is you can tell that he's not going to listen. Right. And so really being coachable and having introspection and asking for help, I think, is a really key part of, what I try to do and what I think is really important in entrepreneurship. I think, being conservative, but also taking enough risk is really important. One of my first investors, which was the founder of Match.com, he always said to me, like, don't ever show up one day with no money and just like have to let everybody go. Right. Like that's the worst possible case scenario you can do. So I really always took his advice to heart. So I've never done that, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
you see plenty of startups who are like, we're going to raise money, we're going to raise money. Oops, we ran out of money. Bye, everybody. Like, it's just not a good place to be and not a good way to treat your people.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So being surrounded by a great team is obviously very important.
Yeah,
How would you describe your leadership style with your team, and has it changed kind of over the years as you've evolved?
I think so. I think there's, in my first startup, right? I mean, I was in my mid-20s, and you only know what you know, which you don't know a lot, unfortunately, or fortunately, either way. But it's you make a lot of mistakes, and HR will tell you to do something, your lawyers will tell you to do something, but especially in this day and age right now, I think there's like a difference in how people want to be treated with, new generations, and also this idea of just like being human. So I definitely like, I remember when I had to do my first set of layoffs, for example, right? Back in, I don't know when, but what, 12, 13 years ago, somewhere around there. And my HR person said, well, you can't be in the room and you can't talk. You can't talk to these people because it's a liability. And what ended up happening was that so many people got hurt because layoffs suck, and they didn't feel heard, and they were really upset, and that sucks. So subsequently, if I've had to like let somebody go, and I'm not perfect, I've definitely made mistakes even now, but having conversations with people and helping them understand, and that I think changes over time. So making sure, even if you're getting advice, like that you're considering it. Like I see other consultancies, for example, wanting to sell their company, and they're optimizing for selling. And so they need to, they've been given advice that they need to hire a leadership team and this and that and whatever. And what's ended up happening is, you're focused on the wrong thing first. I mean, wrong or right, okay, whatever. But some people fail in this situation when they focus on the wrong thing, which is maybe just exiting. They don't care about they care about their people less because they just care about the end goal. And then they build structures in place that don't make sense because they think they're supposed to get to an end goal. So I think just making sure that the advice you take is, you're thinking about it and thinking about whether that actually makes sense for you or not.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So as you're hiring on new team members, it's obviously very challenging for most businesses to hire right now. What is one practice that you found to be very successful at finding the right people?
I've always found through personal networks, you find the best people. I've used things like Indeed.com before, out of thousands and thousands of resumes, okay, and thousands of dollars spent, we found one person. Like, that was not worth my time, right? Versus, just putting my word out there, staying within the community. I'll get tons of resumes, and maybe I'll hire, 25 to 50% of them, kind of just depending on how the market is, right?
Yeah.
And so the ratio of good people is much, much, much higher if you have the right networks around you. So really getting out there and staying out there, I think, is important.
Absolutely. Awesome. So before I get into my final question today,
Yeah.
how can people get in touch with you or learn more about your company?
Yeah, well, I'm on Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter at Lady Leet. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tracy Lee, or you can find me at Tracy at this.co. That's THISDOT.co. And our website is this.co as well. So yeah, I'm always happy to chat. I love talking to entrepreneurs and companies, or like, leadership at large organizations, because this idea of just like facilitating change, especially with how fast tech is going, is like really, we're really passionate about it.
Awesome. Well, you kind of just touched on my last question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
What is most inspiring for you as you continue to move forward with the business?
Well, I didn't answer that actually. What's most inspiring to me is always like kind of from where I've started, right? It's this idea that like, the more we can do to help our clients, the more we can do to help communities as well. So I spent a lot of time kind of like reinvesting into helping women in tech, right? So previously I was helping like, okay, how do you bridge the gap between people who are transitioning careers? So from boot camp to first job is difficult, right? So we actually have an apprentice program that helps with that. But these days I'm really focused actually on engineering leadership. So if you want to hear or learn about tons of engineering leaders, I publish a series every week on just interviewing amazing engineering leadership. So I just interviewed Danielle, who's the CTO of Tyson Foods. Have been interviewing some folks in Atlanta again, like Suchi has been really awesome learning about what she's doing over at Pfizer, for example. Just interviewed Ashleah she's a VP of engineering over at Equifax. But, hearing, I think, other people's stories about what is required to make them successful is a passion of mine that I'll be following for the next few years.
Awesome. So where can people check out some of those interviews?
It's on our blog. So again, thisdot.co, thisdot.co. You can check out the blog. It's also a YouTube podcast as well. And again, I always post it on my LinkedIn too. So you can always check me out on LinkedIn, and I'll be posting those on a weekly basis.
Awesome. That's great. Tracy, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been awesome talking with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Cool. That was perfect.
Cool.
So what brought you to Atlanta? I didn't ask in the interview, but how
Yeah.
did you end up moving over here?
Well, my husband's sister was having a baby, and we were thinking about having babies. And he grew up in Roswell.
Oh,
And so
okay.
his family, his mom is here, and my family's in California. And we were in Raleigh, and he was like, well, do you want to move to Atlanta? And I was like, well, I don't know. I guess so. Sure. Let's go. So, I mean, what do you say? Right. But I mean, it's definitely the best decision we've ever made, because being around family when you have kids is like the best. So his mom lives like 13 minutes away from me in Dunwoody. And then my mom moved from California to here, and she lives 13 minutes away into Johns Creek. So I'm in Peachtree Corners, and I'm like, 13 minutes is fine. Any longer is not.
That's awesome. Yeah. I understand that sentiment. So my wife and I have a 4-year-old, and we're lucky. We grew up in Georgia. Our parents are both about 2 hours from us. So it's a little bit further, but I mean, it's at least driving distance. You don't have to hop on an airplane. So
I have the grandmas on schedules. I'm like, okay, you're taking him to this, you're taking him to that. We're going, but like even them cooking, and just like being around, it's really, it's great. So, and Atlanta's great. I think Raleigh was a little bit sleepy, and it's kind of like one note in a sense. Everyone's like 35 with 3 kids. Like that's it. Okay. That's Raleigh. But here, you have people you can look up to. I think in Silicon Valley, I was like, I'm just hanging out at a bar, working on my laptop, and then like Ron Conway is like right there sitting on a couch, it's like, whoa. So, you have so many people, I think, that you can like look up to and aspire to, right? And like here, I don't know, like you have that if you seek it, but at least you have like the young, the middle, like 35 with 3 kids, and then you have like the super successful. So like you just have more stuff. And then like, obviously because there's more variety in terms of types of people, the food is better here too. So
That's awesome. A good
yeah,
balance.
it really is. I mean, it's, you know, and I really don't like California anymore. So I'm like, why do people still live here? I just don't understand.
Beautiful
So
weather.
yeah, but like, come on, you know? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Where do you live?
So I'm in Peachtree City. I'm probably
Oh, cool.
situated just on the other side of the perimeter.
Yeah. I know where you are. I heard that's such a great place to raise kids.
It's awesome.
And
What
isn't
the
it like you guys can like drive around in golf carts all the time and stuff?
over 100 miles of golf cart paths throughout the city. So once we get home, like we don't take the car anywhere. We just hop in the golf cart and go.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you investing your time with me
Yeah.
today. Hopefully this will be something beneficial you can share
Yeah.
with your
Thank
following.
you.
Normally it takes my team about 2 weeks to get everything edited and back to me. So
Sure.
as soon as I get that, I will shoot you a copy of the video. And if it's beneficial for you, I'm happy to send you the raw video file as well. Just let me know.
Yeah.
And I'll put you on the queue to go out in our newsletter as well. And I'll send you a copy as soon as that comes out.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was so nice meeting you.
Yeah, you as well. And if I can help you connect with anybody in the future, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy.
Bye.
Bye.